So in my full buy round chart, it showed that Hallzerk has some of the better stats actually of Opers. He's kind of in like, I think the top half of Opers, especially I believe on the T side, he's actually really, really solid, which was surprising I think to a lot of people because, you know, you look at Hallzerk, you don't necessarily think like top 10 player, but at least inside of the top 10, I think he's probably like an average Oper when you look at him with the Op. So I wanted to take a look at exactly what goes on. One of the interesting things as well about Hallzerk is that on the T side, he actually goes for about the same amount of entries as the CT side, which is really uncommon. So basically, like on CT side, he's one of the more passive Opers, it seems. Although looking at his kind of like positioning on Ancient, he doesn't seem all that passive. Maybe he's just put into kind of like, you know, throwing support utility positions a decent amount of the time. That would make some sense to me. But on T side, he's one of the most aggressive Opers in terms of entry duels. So it's actually very interesting how that works. Most players are kind of like, you know, CT side, they go for a lot of entries with the Op because it's easy. And then on T side, they go for a lot less because they're playing more supportive, right? That's generally what you're expecting. I'm not sure if I'll release this one of the VP review first, but I did that on Anubis. So this is from May, by the way. And this is, I think, before it became super common. So I'll just show you one thing quickly. You guys tell me if you think I shouldn't even bother with this, but I find it interesting. So if we look at where the mollies are thrown, Complexity throw these, right? Which is like the standard old school molly. But then if you look at the mollies that every other team throws, they throw these mollies. And these are the glitch mollies I talked about in another video, where these mollies, they don't always get smoked off. If you try and smoke them off, the smoke will only take out part of it. And every other team is throwing that. Now, to be fair, this game is from May, but they have a game in June, MIBR, I think I have in this data set, and they did not... Yeah, they threw the same molly. Complexity also have a few other interesting things, I would say, that they do with their nades. But then they have this really cool nade here. I'll try and show in game if I see it. This is really, really strong. It looks very similar to the bank nade, but the bank nade lands like here, and this lands like here. And that means that it's actually gonna... It just dunks people. Like, it just, anyone going donut just gets absolutely dunked on. And not only that, but sometimes, like, people are ready to see this bank nade, so they see that bank nade and they get away from it. They dodge it, but they don't see this nade coming because it comes from back here. It comes over the wall. The only thing is that, like, in one of these rounds, right, Elige throws it with a bad spawn. You can see a spawn here, and they're already past it. It basically needs to be thrown. I mean, even that still did 10 damage, but I mean, that's not what you're hoping for. So it needs to be thrown basically with one of the two best spawns over there. Anyways, I think this is probably, I think this is before the, that molly became super common. But first gun round, we actually have Hallzerk with a rifle. The Op CT side Ancient is awesome, but it does sometimes feel like it can't necessarily activate. You kind of get smoked off in a lot of positions, and then it just feels a little bit, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's necessarily the easiest to get things done with in some cases. Nice spam through the smoke to kill Norbert, and then it looked like they wanted to go through that smoke, but they decided not to. I think the timing, was that their flash? Yeah, so Elige is gonna come over, toss a flash. And then I think what Hallzerk wants to do is he wants to come in, like, if this smoke isn't here, he wants Floppy to make contact, then maybe he would push through. I think that's probably the idea. But Floppy's smoked off, at which point you may as well just save here and try and hold on to the gun for the following round. Unfortunate circumstances there for Hallzerk to end up dying. There is a massive difference, of course, between saving 3 guns and saving 2 guns in terms of like your ability to actually buy. If they save 3 guns here, well, actually, yeah, I mean, you can see, right? Like each gun that gets saved can theoretically drop. They can drop a FAMAS and get good utility, or they can drop an M4 and have kind of mid-level utility. But if you have 3 people die, then your buy ends up being with some either really bad utility or someone is probably on... Oh, nobody's on a bad gun. Okay. Well, they were missing a good amount of utility. I don't know. They were close. All right. They were close, but they're missing 3 mollies because this is just a general idea, guys. Okay. Generally, there's a big difference, okay, between 2 and 3 people. Listen, man, I'm doing a demo review. I'm trying to keep talking. I'm trying to give you guys info. You know, it's not always perfectly relevant. I notice Complexity does seem... I don't know why I'm watching Elige. I notice Complexity does seem to be a team that really loves getting aggressive in middle. Like, insanely aggressive. Even more so than, like, Spirit, for example, are a really aggressive mid team on Ancient. And I feel like even Spirit aren't quite as aggressive. Now, they do completely abandon A, which... or it can be slightly problematic. If your opponents can tell, like, so if your opponents can easily tell what setup you're going for, that's where abandoning A becomes a bit of a problem. Now, A is definitely retakeable, and as long as you win the mid duel, and then not only that, because one of the things they do is, like, seems like they like to win the mid duel and then control lane as well, and so you can kind of link these up, and with these together, you don't have to worry so much about like getting flanked in the same way from like someone coming off catwalk and flanking donut. It makes the retakes a lot more comfortable, but if your opponents know that you ran 3 mid and they just walk out A, it's still they get control of a lot of stuff. And this delayed lurk that's coming out of that actually came out of Flit should have basically locked down the round, you would think, but Elige somehow gets that kill instead. Sorry, let's stay on Hallzerk. That's who I'm meant to be watching, right? Yeah, Hallzerk doesn't... So, one of the things he was considering doing was going out and checking here, but he actually stops here, and I think the reasoning behind this, which is great in my eyes, is like, if he peeks here and he dies, he can't get traded, and then it's a 2v1, right? So instead, if he waits here, if the guy peeks out there, he's got a much bigger advantage, and his teammate can still potentially swing from closer up to ensure that he gets the trade, right? I think mainly he just wasn't trying to swing on there, which, assuming that was his idea, that makes a lot of sense. You just make sure that, you know, on the downside of you dying, you're not giving anything away that's extra. And hopefully you survive, right? And then you're into a 3v1, because the win rate difference between a 2v1 and a 3v1 is fucking massive. Like, it's just unbelievably large difference. Hallzerk just playing, trying to hide, basically, seems like. And they're, because Floppy loves to play kind of this side of long. And you'll see some players that really like I think JL plays here a lot. I'm trying to think who else. I think, yeah, Nico plays here a lot. A lot of the time, it's like really good aimers play here, and sometimes teams can try and isolate this player to try and pick him off, especially like boosting the Oper up here. If you know Floppy loves to play on that side, you might want to boost the Oper up here and then post on him for a while just to catch, because he's going to have to jiggle out sometimes, right? And if he doesn't have sufficient support, you know, he can get kind of punished for that. So you bring Hallzerk over, so Hallzerk can be watching ramp. He can really punish players that try to go for this type of play. And one of the other things that I should have mentioned when I was looking at the utility. Oh my god, dude, Elige is fucking nutty. I should have mentioned when I looked at the utility, and I'll show you in a second, actually. Alright. Elige's gonna have to ace to win this, which is unfortunate. 20 seconds left. The guy kind of has to be coming from this direction, so Elige just gets in a really great off angle, and there's almost no way for James to win. Yeah. Okay, so if I want to talk about the utility for a second, actually I take it back. I don't need to talk about that. We'll talk about that later. Back to Hallzerk, who's the topic of discussion. I mean, he's not forcing towards an op. I don't know if he ever had really a chance to get an op, though, because 1 player alive, 2 players alive, they've never really built up any decent amount of money, which is unfortunate for them. And somehow they're already into a 2v3. And Hallzerk's just gonna wait. Okay. And James just gets completely caught off guard, but I have to assume Hallzerk is also going to get completely caught off guard, because why would he ever expect Electronic to be behind him? I mean, if enough time passes, I guess you could think that maybe he would flank down ramp all the way around, but like, damn, you're just not expecting that one. James just got trolled. Okay. Yeah, that was literally the least interesting round of all time. So we're just going to skip that and go back to this, where they're going to well, the 3-man mid stack worked, but then you lost on No, they won the retake on A, actually. So then they go for the 4-man mid-stack. I mean, it makes a lot of sense because you have an AK, right? And so the idea here, I think, is just like, look, we're going to run everyone together with the AK that we saved from the last round and make 100,000% sure that if that AK dies, that we're picking it up and saving it. Like, unless they run into mid, in which case they're running into a 4-man stack, and we should be happy about that. Which, I mean, logically, it makes a lot of sense, right? But this is, again, I mean, VP is just taking sites and then locking Hallzerk out completely. And this is how I feel like sometimes it happens when you're opping. Or scouting. I mean, same thing, right? You just get locked out, and then you just never really get a chance into the round. It does feel like depressing, oftentimes. Oh my god, is Hallzerk going to have an op at any point in this entire game? Do they just not op CT side Ancient? Is that why Hallzerk is like... He plays... Positionally, it seems like he plays a little different than a lot of players. He plays kind of similar. It's like a mix between... I think Monacy and Brokey were the players I was looking at. Monacy is a lot more aggressive out of Donut, though. Hallzerk seems pretty comfortable just holding these kind of more passive angles. And Monacy will, like, legitimately be fighting in middle when he jumps into Donut. But, all right, so they're 4v3. When you have a man advantage like this, 4v3, or especially if you're, like, 4v2, one of the best things you can do is just spot the enemy without dying, because you spot them, you get the information, and then you can allow the collapse to come in. Whereas if you just die instantly like this, then your opponents oftentimes will be able to just like chase onto the bomb site or force an over rotation, and then they could potentially just end A or something, right? But JT was in a like an outskirts position, which is a little bit different. But your goal really is to try and spot them if you're looking towards mid there. Because they can't plant the bomb at mid, right? So if you just spot them, you can pivot or rotate over just like in perfect timing to be able to hold the actual bomb site. So Hallzerk actually, I'm really liking how Hallzerk's playing, I feel like, you know? He went into A, he made contact, got himself a kill, and he's not over aggressing, right? He's actually really controlled, where he's like not overheating like a lot of players typically will. And when really good players overheat, or however you want to describe it, and they get that first kill and they swing in for the second kill, you know, you might see Donk get all 3 kills there, right? But, if you're not like the best player in the world, sometimes, you know, it's just... Generally, if you just get the one and then wait for the right opportunity to go for more, you're probably going to find more success, or at least more consistent success, right? You're not going to find those huge pop-off rounds in quite the same way, but at least you're going to find consistent rounds. You're not going to be throwing your life away for free. Oh, this is an interesting play from Hallzerk. I think there's a lot of merit to this, but the timing just isn't right. He's just a little too... It's not that he's slow on this, it's just that there's no way for this timing to really work. He makes contact here, Electronic backs up, so he comes over because he knows his opponents likely aren't going to expect that he could be here. But unfortunately, like, just where his opponents were, there was just no way for this timing really to work. He needs an extra 1.5 seconds or so for that to actually work out. And without that, he is just going to get caught in no man's land there like every time, you know? So similar situation, he's going to be spotting with the Deagle, and then you've got Floppy holding the off angle with the M4. And you actually do see, I believe in this angle as well, you see the shadow if they're on the top ledge. Right, eventually they're kind of have to re-aggress in the middle, and probably about that timing is when the bomb gets planted B, you know? You're going to have to re-aggress at some point. So far, I'm actually really kind of surprised by how good Hallzerk is. I really haven't been watching... I've watched very little of his gameplay. I've watched a bit of Complexity, but I've never really focused on Hallzerk. And the problem is that Hallzerk doesn't jump off the page, you know? He's not really putting up any insane numbers. I don't really even see him hit, like, crazy clips or anything. But, you know, watching his actual gameplay, I feel like he's just... At least with the rifle, he's just doing a relatively solid job and not taking any unnecessary risks, you know? Now here's where it gets interesting. Here is where we see what I meant when I said, like, Hallzerk actually does seem to play relatively aggressive when I see him with the op. And this is what I mean, like, I thought he was going to swing all the way into mid, which would have been wild. But, I mean, he's not averse to taking some fairly aggressive engagements. One of the things I was surprised he did, not as much as a lot of other teams, was, like, opping towards A, right? It feels like if you're aggressive in mid often, that you're kind of prompting your opponents to be going for fast A plays. And then the response to that, you would think, is to play an Oper A a little bit more often. But Hallzerk plays A less often than most Opers, but he does op donut more often than most Opers, right? So he is kind of there quickly to support his teammate who's on the bomb site. So it does still make a lot of sense logically. It feels like Opers are playing a good amount of the time. Almost like more and more, it feels like. Just to combat these teams that like to kind of walk out a decent amount. Anyways, Floppy and JT, Electronic just straight up calling the bluff. He's going to find the perfect timing, isn't he? Oh my god. I couldn't find him on my keyboard, dude. I couldn't find him on my keyboard. Oh god. How do I mess that up? How do I mess that up, man? Chat, how do I mess that up? So when I talk about Hallzerk going A less, right? He goes A, let's say this is 5 out of 30 times, although the aggressive plays are kind of like a different niche. They're not like baiting an aggression back, right? They're not like waiting for that push out A. They're a little different. We see Monacy, he's in A lot. We see Shiro's in A lot. We got Brokey in A ton, right? But this all goes into like the entire strategy, right? So if we look at like the positions of their entire team, you're going to notice that they're not all the same. Like not every team is in the same spots at the same times. Different teams prioritize. Like you can see Complexity is much more aggressive in mid, either fighting immediately or fighting on the delay, right? And you've got Na'Vi is kind of close to that, and that'll make sense in a second. G2 is kind of in the middle of mid. You can kind of see this from all of these teams. Like they all look somewhat different in their own ways, right? And the important thing is to have a strategy that makes sense as a whole. Logically, it seems to make sense that if you're fighting mid a lot, then you want to have a decent number of rounds where your Oper's holding this angle so that your opponents still have to utilize, a good amount of utility to take A. But one of the things that Complexity do, if you actually compare Hallzerk to Wonderful, then you're going to notice that Wonderful is also often in Donut, and that having that Oper be able to pivot over from Donut does make a lot of sense. Now, he's in slightly different positions in Donut. I think he might he's like starting out listening for noise, then he pivots over to mid, which is a little bit different than how Hallzerk is doing it, where he just kind of runs over or he comes from middle, right? So it's, again, there's intricacies to all of this, right? But you look at Bit kind of fulfills seemingly a similar role to Elige, where sometimes he's fighting in mid and oftentimes he's back here. And this play, I kind of like it, because when you think about like being an Oper in mid and you get smoked off, you just feel like you're kind of screwed, because this rotate never feels that good. There could be an Oper posted up on you, so then you have to use a fucking flash to like get around this corner. That sucks. If they're execing B, they smoke you off, and it's like, what was I even here for? A as well, this is an amazing angle to post up on, but if teams just smoke you off, then you're not really going through to support. It feels kind of sucky. And then the smoke goes down, and it's like, as an Oper, are you going through here? That's kind of awkward. It's all kind of awkward, right? I kind of like the idea, especially if you've got Elige. It makes a lot of sense to have him be the more rotator heavy player. So it seems like, to some extent, it seems like their CT side is like set up more for like Elige to make a lot of reads and good plays, and that limits Hallzerk a little bit more than you see other Opers who, this is more of the position you're thinking where an Oper usually is, and he's able to pivot both directions and have impact on the round, like every round, right? Is kind of what you're thinking. And then they'll lock him down, they'll force him to op A sometimes because you just need to. I don't know, I kind of got off track there. I can't remember what I was talking about. I really want to be watching more Ancient games. I actually think Ancient is just a fantastic map, but I've had much less experience watching and analyzing Ancient than most other maps, right? So it makes it a little hard. I don't want to lead you guys astray and tell you anything wrong, which means like before I make a video on Ancient or like a review on Ancient, I should be doing like a decent amount of research as in like into how teams are playing. And that means it takes a lot of extra time, and then you're still not like quite 100% perfect regardless, right? I mean, it's just a pissing around here as my cat is fucking, oh, dude. I like can't even focus, dude. I legit can't focus. He's like screaming at me. I never feed him at this time. This is not time for food. This is time for shut the fuck up. I'm like, actually, I don't know why, dude. I'm trying to record. My cat wasn't bothering me for the last 4 fucking hours I wouldn't have bothered me if he was bothering me. I would have been like, all right, whatever, you know, normal day. Now he's over here fucking with me the moment I started recording. This scout round I skipped, by the way, I literally just had a breakdown. I was just like sitting there in silence, like, oh my god, I hate my cat so much right now. And then that's why I cut the round. The round's gone because I was just like, I'm actually tilted about this. But why? Why? Why am I tilted about this? Why am I so... He does this every fucking day, even though I never reward his fucking behavior. It's actually unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable. Okay, dude, a cat is like screaming at you, dude, and 10 minutes later you feed him and he's like, you know what? That was successful behavior. But you could spend months trying to get him not to fucking scratch your sofa. Every time he starts scratching my sofa, dude, I pick his ass up and I put him on the scratching thing, which he uses, by the way. He uses one of those scratching boards. He uses it. He loves it. He eats the cardboard for some reason because he's a fucking lunatic, okay? But he uses it. So why does he need the couch also? I even have no matter, it's been months, dude. Every single time. I'll run in there, grab him, and put him on the thing. Like, dude, you know you're not supposed to be doing this. But one time I feed him at the right after he's annoying to me. Pure coincidence, okay? And he's doing that for the rest of his fucking life. What is this, dude? What is this hellscape I'm living in? Here's the nade I was showing you. But with this spawn, this lands too late, I think. Well, it still can work, right? Oh, the only problem is it's kind of high. So it doesn't do a shitload of damage. But it seems like you want it to land. I guess it can work if it lands at that timing, right? Because it obviously does work here. But you want it a little earlier, I think. Because if your opponents aren't running straight down mid, right, that nade will catch them if they go into donut as well. But if you throw it that late, I think it's not going to catch them when they go into donut. Anyways, Complexity is one of the most aggressive teams when it comes to mid control that I've seen. I believe it was Spirit that was also quite aggressive when it comes to mid control on T side. Definitely on CT side, Spirit loves it. And there's this flash that they throw. I wonder if Elige throws it here that no other team throws. Yeah, so they throw, Elige throws, let me show it. So Elige throws this flash here, right? No other team throws that. And to me, that flash just seems bad. I think I might kind of get the reasoning, but like, okay, so that flash lands now. Okay, so Electronic is lightly blind, but it kind of just tells you other flashes are coming. And he's no longer flashed, right? So the T's can get out at like 146-ish, I believe. Like T's can get out like now, right? This is about when he's turned around right at and that he's already unblind. But I think the reasoning behind it, okay, hang in with me here. I think part of the reason for that flash might be that they're trying to encourage people to jump into cutout partially blind and then get stuck in this molly, which I guess kind of makes sense. I mean, there's some, I don't know. That seems to be the logic to me, because otherwise that Flash just doesn't feel that strong. Maybe people miss their utility because of that. So I explained this live, and I think I did a pretty bad job of it, so I'll just explain it here. Like, if you look at other teams that also swing out mid pretty often, so Maus swing out mid almost as often as Complexity, but they don't do this thing that Elige does where he's like sitting on the edge of the smoke all the time. It's like you can even see it if you like, as I scroll through the round, you can see how many rounds he's doing that, right? So I can see the logic behind that Flash, but it's always odd when you have a team throw something that doesn't have like a clear idea necessarily, and they throw it like this often, because your flashes are very valuable. I'd just be really interested to know exactly the, like, why not just throw one of these instead? Like, you just drop your flash and spawn. Maybe it's because Elige can control the timing. If they don't throw that smoke, he doesn't have to throw the flash or something. Whatever. That I just wasted. See, this is why this channel's never going to be popular. Nice nade and spam. Well done. Hallzerk, my hero. My North American superstar. He's not going to upgrade. Oh, well, he can get the M4 later, I guess. The problem is if he upgraded to the M4, if it was down, that he would make noise, right? So Hallzerk, in the spot where everyone will tell you he's not supposed to kill anyone because he's throwing utility. He's supportive. He's playing support. Well, you're also the third player out, which means you can trade. And if you trade well, and he did his job, his good trades, that's classic. That's picturesque, you might even say. First player dies, second player trades, second player dies, third player trades. CTs have no real chance to multi-kill up. Beauty. Beautiful. 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 All right, so Grim was planning on YOLOing out through the smoke, but canceled for whatever reason. Complexity does seem like one of the things they are is pretty light on the A side. They're pretty heavy early on in middle, and then when I talk about resources, like the reason I talk about resources, you can only be aggressive in so many plays at the same time, right? And so like if you're aggressive in middle and you like to play aggressive on B, then you have to be kind of passive on A, right? It's kind of how it works. And you just need to be able to manage kind of the frequencies so you're not exploitable. You have to be super exploitable for it to really matter within an individual game. All right, Hallzerk. Yay, would you look at that? Oh my god, he brought the bomb to the site and then planted it. Successful objective completion. Good job, Hallzerk. You've done your role. I'm proud of you. All right, early smoke. Lining up the flashes. Elige actually is going to go out. This does feel kind of Spirit-esque. I feel like Donk gets sent out like that a decent amount of the time. And Donk, well, I mean, so if you look at it, I can't remember who said this, but there was someone that was like, talking about players with really good movement and great mechanics. And right now, Elige is on that list. Like, you guys don't want to hear it because he's North American, right? And not only that, but he's the worst part of North American. He's fucking American. All the good North Americans are Canadian. We've got Twists, we've got NAF, we've got Daps, we've got Shroud, we've got Vu. That's the best of the best in North America, okay? We've got all of us, all right? And Tens also, I think, right? Tens, I think? No? Anyways, nobody wants to hear it, but Elige is actually, like, fucking unbelievable in CS2 so far. So, I can see why if... I don't know if this is what happened. I'm going to say this is probably not what happened, but they're like, you know what? Spirit does this. Elige is basically Donk. We're going to have him do the same shit. And I'll be like, yeah. I mean, if you're playing against not Spirit, then yeah, Elige basically is Donk. Man, I don't know how I come off. I don't know how I get off on these tangents, dude. There's a couple people that I respect that are like pretty good, that are like, yeah, I've watched some of your videos on the second channel. Like, I'm enjoying it. Like, good job. And I'm like, dude, My nightmare is someone watching this that actually, like, I want them to think highly of me. That's my fucking nightmare, dude. I'm just like, these are so unhinged, man. Why? Oh, yay, Hallzerk sitting in teeth. Why did I choose an ancient demo, dude? What was I thinking? I wanted to do an ancient game because I did Anubis with Virtus Pro. And then I was like, well, we'll do ancient too, especially because, like, I'm not as experienced on the map. I want to learn it. I'm interested. How does Complexity play this map? And you know, how does Hallzerk play this map? Good question. He fucking sits in spawn and throws flashes. And then he plants the bomb, okay? And then the bomb explodes. Sometimes he'll spam someone through a smoke in the meantime. Amazing. Oh, James, just what was that, James? That just looks fucking hilarious. I'm pretty sure Hallzerk's supposed to die there, you know, but I don't think there's anything he can do about it, you know? Sometimes it's just reality strikes, and you have to do some shit that's probably going to end up with you dying. But there's no other choice. And I guess sometimes it ends up with you getting a kill. Almost adjusted onto electronic. Almost. Grim 1v3. I think he wins this, doesn't he? My man, Grim. Sucks. Fuck. Thought you won that. For some reason, I thought I remembered like a Grim clutch from that spot. But I guess everyone's clutched from that spot, haven't they? What rifler hasn't clutched from that spot? All right, Hallzerk. Would you look at that? He's in spawn again. Going utility again. Elysia's gonna edge the smoke. This is so bullshit, dude. This is so bullshit. This should not be in the fucking game. This is so bullshit. It's just so unbelievably bullshit. There's the flash, there's the molly, forces player into the open, I guess. And then he's just got support flashes, and he's just gonna fucking edge the smoke and kill two people. That is so bullshit, dude. That should not exist. It really shouldn't. It should not be a thing, man. Of all the things in CS2, people complain about everything. But nobody complains about the two big fucking annoyances, okay? Look, okay, the boost bug is big, all right? Admittedly, it's big. The boost bug is a problem. It should be fixed, okay? But you know the two other big fucking problems? Edging in smokes, number one, and how long it takes a fucking smoke to put out a Molotov. That is inexcusable, okay? I legitimately think that one of the reasons that Inferno is so shit in CS2 is because you get a molly lands on top of you, you pull out your smoke and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna put that out. And then you're 20 damage later, it finally fucking goes away. And it's like, dude, I had my smoke out before the molly even started doing damage. Why does it not just fucking instantly explode? In CSGO, it was like bang. Like instantly explodes, instantly stop taking damage. Nobody's complaining about that because they're complaining about someone AD spraying in deathmatch when that did actually could happen in CSGO, but people, for some reason, there's this tweet with like, what, like 4,000 likes of someone be like, this would never happen in CSGO, and he's literally doing something that happened in CSGO, and then someone posted a video showing that it happens in CSGO. Oh my god. People are too busy complaining about the dumbest shit. Alright, Hallzerk, he got boomed, alright? Jame missed. Hallzerk got the better of Jame once or twice this game, okay? But this time around, Jame... No number one in the game, no number one in the name? I don't know. Alright. Whatever. Elysia gets a kill. That's all we care about. This round's over. Nobody cares. JT. Who's that? What do you think about these hand wraps, chat? Skin inspection. It's skin inspection. Blue and gold, those are on the opposite ends of the color wheel, which means they're complementary. Important to remember. Hallzerk in spawn once again. Never could have seen that one coming, chat. I'll show you where this molly lands, and if you didn't already know, it's basically, it looks like it's the same as the molly you throw standing still from like in the doors, right? So they got mid control without like doing too much. I mean, they're just getting the amount that they get mid control for like free or just get kills while doing so. It's kind of, it feels kind of like Banana on Inferno, right? Once you establish that you're just gonna win when you fight it out, then it's so much easier to play the map, right? They just got mid. They used a bunch of utility, but like nothing crazy, and they didn't commit too many players. So they fake B, draw the aggression out of A, get the kill. For some reason, I'm watching Floppy, not Hallzerk. Get the kill, and then come back around B, and they still have time on the clock. And not only that, but you have a Liege that's just shutting down rotates here. He's gonna get that kill, and then Flit has no ability to really shut this down, right? So the plant's gonna be free. And Hallzerk, what did he really do this round? Nothing. But that's not his fault. He just didn't fucking see anybody. Hallzerk, look, this is a game that, like, one of the reasons I picked it is because it's like, it feels like a pretty average game. It doesn't feel like anything crazy, right? I feel like I'd be happy with Hallzerk. You know, I'm pretty, Hallzerk is like on my list of like inoffensive gameplay. What does that even mean? Oh my god, it's inoffensive. I really like some of the plays where he actually stopped himself from going over aggressive in positions where I see it feels like most players go over aggressive, where they get one kill and they swing out for the second, and it's like, dude, couldn't you just wait for your fucking team? In those situations where I'm like, I feel like most players get over aggressive here, and he's willing to be a little, you know, reserved. I think that's always pretty impressive. Then you're thinking complexity could be the next Prime Astralis. They could do it. They could get over that hump. They could do it. I don't know if Hallzerk is Dev1ce, but, you know, they could do it. It's possible.